the one and only Kenny Aronoff, who's on the line right now. Kenny, good morning. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, how you guys doing?
You know, they say there's a synergy between the bass player and the drummer because you guys are what keeps it all going.
Well, yeah. I mean, definitely the drums keep it all going.
No, there's no doubt about it.
The drums are like the... why, are you a bass player?
I play rhythm, but I'm not all that good, and, you know, it is what it is. But my brother was the drummer when we had a band, and when I was in high school, we had a band. My brother played drums.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, well, I mean, I look at the drummer as like the engine in the car, and then the lead singer is the car, or the boss is the car, you might say.
Yeah.
But the drummer is like the engine. It keeps it, you know.
Yeah, you're the timing belt on the engine. You're everyone's
the
timing
belt.
Right?
The timing, yeah. I like that.
Yeah, and if you make a mistake, it's a little bit scary, you know, because everybody knows it when the drummer makes a mistake.
Yeah. But everybody knows it when the drummer's good.
Yeah, that's true.
And the drummer gets the chicks. That's what it does always seem to work that way. He was just my brother.
We get a certain kind of chicks.
Yeah, oh, that's true. All right, so you have a book out, and it's Sex, Drums, Rock and Roll, the hardest hitting man in show business, Kenny Aronoff. And you have lived the life. You played with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And you must have, and I'm assuming that's what this book is all about, some stories to tell.
Well, yeah, but I focus mostly on, what it took to get where I am now. I didn't, when I wrote the book, I was just writing it. Someone convinced me to write it, and then it turned into this huge project. It took 4 years to write, and because I'm so busy. And it was basically like a little kid who saw the Beatles on TV when he was 11. Then I got to play with them 50 years later, honoring them for the actual show, the Ed Sullivan Show. And it's just about a workaholic, how I made it. It was ups and downs, getting fired, getting rehired, getting fired, And through my journey, I learned a lot about what it takes to be successful in life and in any career.
What do they say? You got to have 10,000 hours in, and you become an expert at your craft. And but it seems for you probably a heck of a lot more than 10,000 hours in there.
Yeah. It's hundreds of thousands at this point. Yeah. I agree.
And so what is it? I mean, when you were first, so you really, what was the first gig, the first big one for you? Was it Mellencamp?
Yeah, that was the big one. That was, and that song you just played, Jack and Diane, was a do or die situation. The song wasn't on the record. We didn't know what to do with it. I knew that if I didn't come up with something on the spot, that they would just get somebody else, like be replaced.
Yeah,
it had happened before. And that was, I came up with that solo or that melody on the drums, fighting for my life, to just keep my gig, basically.
Yeah,
and then the song that wasn't on the record became a number one hit. But, my fear was, how can I do this again? Am I going to be able to do this again?
Right.
As soon as I succeeded, it was like, it's like the guy who gets a touchdown and you're excited for a second, then you realize, man, I got to do this again.
Right. Well, can I just talk about the Jack and Diane piece, that drum piece that we just played? In the 70s, and I'm sure you recall. I mean, you play in a gym, you play a high school dance. The drummer always does a drum solo. But then you don't hear a drum solo on the radio. You never hear it in a pop song or a rock song. You just wouldn't hear it, maybe on an AOR station, but you just wouldn't hear it on the radio. But this, you were able to. That's like a lead. It's a solo. You had a solo in this song, and it fit, which was brilliant.
It's weird. Well, you know what? It's a solo because I'm playing by myself. But I was thinking I finally had learned, how to be a drummer in a band to get that song on the radio to be, I guess, number one. Yeah. And that was, I had to do something that was musical, that has a theme to it. It wasn't just a drum solo. You go crazy like, a great, technical drummer.
Right,
it was a melodic composition.
Yeah, I mean, that was as important to a song as a lead guitar solo or anything like that. I want to ask you, maybe you could. I don't know the answer to this question. And I've been searching for a long time. And you played drums on the Meatloaf song, I Will Do Anything for Love, but I Won't Do That. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right,
Nice.
what in the hell is that? I mean, I'll do anything for love, but I'm not doing that. I will not do that.
What is that?
I got to know. Okay, or can I know on the radio?
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know, but I'm just glad I was on it. I thought that was the most ridiculous title for a song. Not to mention for radio. I mean, radio-friendly songs are 3.5-minute songs, and when we were done with that, it was like a 10.5-minute song.
It was
I was
long.
laughing, going, "You guys are wasting your time, your money. That song will never be played on the radio." I could have been more wrong. It was like number one on 15 countries on the same day, and eventually 22 countries it was number one a night. And people always ask me, "What's that?"
What is that? Yeah. I'm not sure Meatloaf knows, to be honest with you. I'm not sure.
Well, that's the beauty of it, right?
Yeah, that is. And you know, it's one of those things like Carol, was it Carol King that never said who she was singing about? And same thing here. You're better off not saying because it's the wonder that keeps everybody talking.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about it, aren't we?
We're talking about it. It's been a long time. It's not a song that I normally would think about on a normal basis. So of everybody you've played with, and I mentioned Mellencamp and John Fogerty and Springsteen and the Stones and Dylan, the Beatles. We're talking about Ringo Starr and Johnny Cash. You played with Alanis Morissette, Goo Goo Dolls, Joe Cocker, Smashing Pumpkins. Of all of it, do you have somebody you're like, man, this was the best. This was the best. I had the best time when I played for blank.
Yeah, people ask me that. I have so many great memories. I can't narrow it down to one person or one band. I'd say if I had to pick something live, I would say, and this is really hard because I really love playing with everybody.
Yeah.
But Chickenfoot was like it's a super group. For those who don't know, it was like Sammy Hagar from Van Halen, Sammy Hagar, Montrose, and Chickenfoot. And then there was Michael Anthony, who played bass and sang backgrounds in Van Halen, and then Joe Satriani, one of the greatest solo guitar players ever. And then the original drummer is Chad Smith from the Chili Peppers, but Chad had to do that gig, so they brought me in. The thing that made that gig amazing was that everybody on stage was A+. I mean, it wasn't like you had A+ people, A- people, B+ people, B-. Everybody was at the top of their game, and everybody had a good attitude, and it was relaxed and fun.
Yeah.
It was like being on a Super Bowl team, and it was so cool. And I felt like I was in Van Halen and Led Zeppelin all in one.
Yeah,
so,
such an all-star.
It was a live thing. It was great.
Yeah. And the book. So why did you decide to write the book? Because clearly, to get where you've gotten, and I mean to work for all these people, and to be the go-to guy when you need a drummer, you got to set yourself apart from everybody else. So when you wrote the book, you're giving advice to people, basically saying, "This is how I did it. This is how I became uncommon," which was important.
Yeah. I was convinced to write the book because by a writer, Jake Brown, who was interviewing me for a Joe Satriani book right after Chickenfoot tour, and I went, "No, I don't have time. I'm so busy. I'm always on the road. I'm doing sessions. I don't have time." He said, "No, you just dictate to me every 2 weeks or every month for a couple hours, and I'll put this thing together." So I thought, "Oh, yeah, that sounds easy." Well, when I started reading it, it didn't sound like me, so then I got involved, and next thing you know, it was like I was trying to get out of it. And 2 years into it, I was ready to buy the book back and bury it, because I already had Bon Jovi interviewed, I already had Melissa Etheridge, Mellencamp. I was like, I can't put this out. So then they talked me off the ledge. They get this guy get together with the book editor, and there's an editor, and we reworked it. It was 600 pages. We had the contract set for 300, and oh man, it turned into this thing where I was working on it like 16 hours a day on my days off on tour, and the day the book was supposed to be handed in, after 6 months late, I changed the cover design, and I got so involved it turned into a Ben-Hur or something. But I learned a lot from it, man. I learned a lot about myself through that process.
It almost seems like you, when you focus in on something, you just take it on 110%. I mean, that's what you did to become the drummer you are today, and you did the same thing with the book.
Yep, you're absolutely right. The book was an example of Kenny Aronoff and how uncommon I am, and you got it, you nailed it. And from that, I came up with these 7 ways I really believed that I became successful and have stayed successful for 35 years in one of the most difficult businesses in the world, the music business.
Yeah.
And I share that with people in a show I do now, the live show called Evening with Kenny Aronoff. And I'll be doing more and more of that. It's a cool thing. It's like a movie, and then I perform for about 2 minutes. I step forward, and then I start telling stories and sharing, heavy inspirational stuff. And then I perform, and I talk, perform, and talk, and it's a cool thing.
Yeah, I got to say, I saw Billy Joel do something like that. It was Billy and his keyboard, and that's it. And he'd play, this is my inspiration here, he'd talk about it. Sounds like that's the same type of thing. You going to be coming this way out the Northeast at all?
Well, I'm just finishing up just like the book, I thought I'd get this done real quick. It's been about a 2-year process to get a landing page and a package together, which I will give agents.
Yeah.
And hopefully I will be out your way, in theaters or wherever, and eventually do it. I hope so. I love doing it. It's great.
Yeah, I'd be all over this. I would be there. So, great Christmas gift, by the way, if you get a chance to pick up this book, and it's inspirational. It's music, but it's also inspiration on how you can become the best at whatever it is you want to do. It's called Sex, Drums, Rock and Roll, the hardest hitting man in show business. All right, I said it. How'd you survive the whole the drug scene, the sex scene, all of what comes with rock and roll? Well,
first of all, the title, the whole title, Sex Drums. I put drums instead of drugs.
Yep.
I put that because I love, that title is cool. I think it's like
it is.
It's such a rock and roll talk. Sex, drugs, rock and roll, which to me was all about just the spirit of rock and roll and wildness and fun. But it's supposed to be taken as a fun thing.
Right.
I changed it to drums because obviously I'm a drummer. The whole drug thing, the whole thing with this is the bottom line. My career was always more important than any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I had some wild times when I was young. The audience was young. The band was young. It was like fun. We'd pick up girls and do just normal what anybody would do. But in rock and roll, it was the opportunities were greater.
Yeah.
The drug thing, I pretty much stayed away from most all that stuff. I'm not saying I was an angel, but I stayed away from most of it because the job was always more important.
Right.
After one hangover and trying to play in front of 20,000 people, it was like, I ain't doing this again.
Yeah, and you're working for people that you're in demand, and if you're not up to it, they're not gonna ask you back.
Oh, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I get to the point where I talk about the Kennedy Center Arms. That's the Super Bowl of all Super Bowls.
Yeah. 16
camera shoot live. They're recording. The president's there. You're playing with Sting, Springsteen, Elton John, Mellencamp. It could be, on and on and on. You don't want to make a mistake. You do not want to make a mistake, not only as a player, but as somebody that you can count on to solve problems live and in a situation like that. It's not a joke. It's serious business. And you wouldn't be there if you didn't think that you could handle yourself, not only as a great musician, but as a solid, together person.
All right, somebody's asking, and we'll leave you this final question. What advice do you give young kids that are interested in any instrument, but maybe drums?
Well, enjoy yourself, especially when you're young. Enjoy yourself. And the beauty about playing drums is it feels good mentally, physically, and emotionally. But, work hard at it because, have fun, but through the fun, you can learn discipline and hard work and get something out of it, along with the enjoyment of playing music and playing the drums.
Pretty awesome. Sex, drums, rock and roll, the hardest hitting man in show business, and he has done it all. Kenny Aronoff. Thank you, Kenny, for coming on. We really appreciate the time this morning.
Okay, man. You guys have a good holiday, and maybe we'll see you soon.
I hope so. I hope you get out here. Thanks so much. How about that story, huh? And that is a story about, it's not about music as much as it's about how he seemed to be like completely all in when he's going after something. That's big.